All right, coming up at 6, solar energy customers outraged as the state moves to cut incentives that push homeowners to make the switch in the first place. We'll hear from a frustrated business owner and why state officials say the move will help almost everyone save on energy costs in the long run. Plus, a busy DMV office shut down.
This is crazy.
The theft that flooded nearly the entire office and left frustrated drivers scrambling to find new appointments. And leveling the playing field in the classroom.
Sometimes when we've gone to other schools, we're like, whoa, wow. Look at this place.
We'll meet a South Bay 8th grader who says a new state bill could help transform schools for students like her.
The Golden State Valkyries select.
Valkyries fans feeling fired up for the WNBA draft.
Wonderful, exceptional, spectacular.
We'll have live reaction from Thrive City to the team's first ever draft pick. And later, protective instincts from humans and animals alike after a big quake shakes San Diego County.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Good evening. It is a push for equality in our schools. A South Bay state senator is behind a bill that aims to level the playing field when it comes to school funding. For most of California's history, property taxes have been the primary source of income for public schools, and that means schools in more affluent areas get way more money. Then, in 2013, the state began sending more money to schools with high-need students, like low-income English learners or foster youth. Nearly everyone agrees it has helped, but a funding gulf remains. Len Ramirez dives into the new efforts to close it.
Natalie Enriquez is an 8th grader at August Boger Middle School in East San Jose. And there's something she notices when she goes to other schools to play sports. Her peers in wealthier neighborhoods have nicer schools than she does.
I don't hold grudges or anything, but I do notice that it is unfair. And like when as I said, I'm part of the track and field team. Sometimes when we've gone to other schools, we're like, whoa, wow, look at this place. It's different from where I am from.
State Senator Dave Cortese says it's about time for that to change in California schools.
A child's zip code should never determine their worth in the classroom.
Surrounded by East Valley educators and students, including Natalie, Cortese introduced SB 743, a bill he says would fix outdated funding formulas from 1978's Proposition 13, which ties school funding to local property taxes, a system critics say favors wealthy communities and leaves others behind.
Palo Alto schools spend nearly $30,000 per student. At this time of the day, that's what, a 20-minute drive? Milpitas, $16,500.
The plan calls for using general fund monies in surplus years to create an endowment to give to poorer schools.
If you're already at the top of the heap, nobody's taking that money away. This isn't an equalization that works by robbing Peter to pay Paul.
I am in support of SB 743. Thank you.
At an education committee hearing in Sacramento, several parents and students from San Jose came to voice support for the bill. And Eastside Union High School Superintendent Glenn Vanderzee urged the committee to push the bill forward.
We can create early math specialists, make sure students get the intervention early in elementary school so they can show up at the 9th grade ready to meet the A through G requirements and have an equal competitive footing with those students 20 minutes away.
But the bill also faced tough questions from lawmakers who say it doesn't address the unequal funding that exists even among basic aid schools.
So here we're saying basic aid districts are just sort of categorically ineligible with sort of a moral undertone to it that's problematic for me. So I'm struggling with just that dimension of it.
The bill is moving on but faces more committee hearings.
Even with all our hard work, we don't always have the resources we need. This makes it harder for staff and students to succeed and do our best.
Natalie thinks even small increases in school funding can have positive outcomes for students. And although it's a topic she and her friends hardly ever talk about, she says now is the time to speak up.
Cortese hopes to create a constitutional amendment from the bill and put it on the ballot. That way the funding would be permanent and could not be taken away for other purposes. Protesters took to the streets of San Francisco this afternoon. They are demanding the release of Palestinian Columbia University graduate student Mahmoud Khalil. They rallied outside the ICE building on Sansom Street. Khalil is a legal U.S. resident who is married to a U.S. citizen. He was a spokesperson for protests at Columbia University last spring. He was arrested by ICE agents last month, accused of being a supporter of Hamas. On Friday, an immigration judge in Louisiana ruled he could be deported, agreeing with the administration that his presence posed potentially serious foreign policy consequences.
Students across the country and in the Bay Area in general are uniting in this moment because they realize the Trump administration's goal is to isolate campuses and isolate student leaders like they did with Mahmoud Khalil. And make no mistake, Mahmoud Khalil is being prosecuted based off of what he said and not anything he did.
As for Khalil's case, his lawyers say they will keep fighting. The judge gave them until April 23rd to seek a waiver. Tomorrow is the special election that will decide Oakland's next mayor. It is a race between former Congresswoman Barbara Lee and former City Council member Lauren Taylor. The Alameda County Registrar of Voters says only about 19% of ballots have been returned so far. And it's not just the mayor's office up for grabs. Voters will also choose a new city council member for District 2. There's also a measure to raise the city's sales tax by a half cent. The Oakland Coliseum DMV was closed for repairs today after thieves broke in and stole copper piping from the HVAC system. The theft triggered leaks and flooding in the building. Fencing was put up around the building as workers try to clean up the mess. The copper piping that was stolen generally sells for $2 to $6 per pound, but will cost thousands to repair. DMVs in the area are already seeing more traffic with hours-long wait times because of the Real ID deadline on May 7th. We spoke with customers who came to the Oakland Coliseum DMV who were very frustrated to be turned away.
So what I feel like crazy, I have to come back to work at 12 and now I have to go to the other DMV.
I took off today and I want to get a Real ID because we have a short time.
No word on when the DMV will be able to reopen, but customers are being redirected to other locations. For decades, California homeowners were told to get solar. They were promised tax breaks and bill credits, all in the name of helping the power grid. But now those incentives could be going away. The first move came in December of 2022. The California Public Utilities Commission, they voted to cut the incentives homeowners could get from solar panels by 75%. But that only applies to people who bought in after April of 2023. Well, now the commission is going after longtime solar customers. Officials argue those credits are too generous and drive up energy prices for everyone else. John Ramus spoke with a solar company owner in Dublin who says the state has no right to go back on the deal.
In October, Governor Newsom issued an order directing the state to figure out ways to lower people's electric bills. The PUC has come up with a list of suggestions, and it has early adopters of solar power fighting mad. In its response to the governor, the Public Utilities Commission identified owners of rooftop solar as one of the causes of higher energy bills for the average resident. It said, quote, while the vast majority of industrial, commercial, and residential customers do not have solar panels, they will pay approximately $8.5 billion in 2024 for the 15% who do. Severin Bornstein with the UC Berkeley Haas Energy Institute explains why the cost shift is hurting low-income people the most.
When people put in rooftop solar, it transfers costs onto the people who don't have rooftop solar. And by and large, the people who don't have rooftop solar are poorer than the people who do have rooftop solar. So as more and more people put in rooftop solar, it was transferring more costs onto other customers and driving up prices.
Solar owners were being credited the same rate that PG&E charges its customers, but about half that amount goes to paying for the grid and protecting against wildfire, an expense solar owners don't have. So in effect, all those costs are being passed on to non-solar customers. The state, and Bornstein, thinks it's time to stop being so generous.
customers who put it in before 2020 or so have clearly already paid back their systems. So I think that it's time to end this cost shift onto other customers once you have paid back your system and maybe a bit more.
So the PUC is proposing some changes. Anyone who had a solar system in April of 2023 was guaranteed the more lucrative deal for a period of 20 years. The state is proposing that it be knocked down to 10 years. Bill Gergel isn't having it.
10 years ago, I became my first customer.
Gergel owns a solar company called Solar Bill Review. He and most of his customers are enjoying the higher payback rate of the system called net energy metering, or NEM, and it has a profound effect on what he pays PG&E each month.
$13 now. $13
You pay $13 a month?
Yeah, but you can see we got a lot of panels too.
But Gergel and his fellow solar owners consider the state's new proposal to be a serious breach of contract.
Everybody's asking when's the class action lawsuit that we all get in on, because we have it in writing from PG&E on a PG&E logoed document that says we're all grandfathered in for 20 years on the net energy metering. So this system here should have 10 more years.
Under the plan, Gergel's system would immediately convert to the lower paying system.
If I was sending energy into the grid right now, instead of 45 cents, I'd be getting 5 cents for a kilowatt hour.
There are other proposals that rankle the solar owners as well, including a monthly fee to pay for supporting the power grid and a plan to pay only the price of energy at the time the system was created, which would eliminate the huge increase in price that has occurred over the last few years. But Gergel says he bought solar when the state was promoting it, and he considers a deal to be a deal.
Yeah, it's like you shake somebody's hand, you say, hey, we have an agreement, we're locked in, but this is a signed contract, and they're trying to take it away from people.
These are simply suggestions the PUC is offering, and no decisions have been made. But as the governor looks for ways to quell the anger over rising energy bills, solar owners may find themselves in the crosshairs.
The PUC says shifting the cost of the system to non-solar customers is adding more than 15% to the average residential customer's bill. Now, homeowners can still apply for a 30% federal tax credit when installing rooftop solar. Former President Biden extended the program for the next decade. President Trump has made it a point to slash or eliminate clean energy programs, but so far he has left the solar credit alone. Concord police are searching for the suspect in a drive-by shooting. Police say around 3 this morning, officers heard gunshots near Monument Boulevard and Reganti Drive. Police say they found a 40-year-old man lying on the ground. He died at the scene. Police say the suspect shot him from a car and took off. They have not released any information on the car or the suspect. The Martinez Refining Company has reported flaring for 2 days in a row. The first incident was Sunday around 12:30, and then again today just before noon. Contra Costa Health says they were both level 1 flaring events, which means you can smell or hear the flares. The refinery says flares are part of their safety systems. Still ahead here at 6, the Golden State Valkyries, they made their first ever draft pick, and it was a stunner.
We were hoping for one of the stars, but I'm excited.
We are too. We're live at the watch party with how fans are reacting to the sharpshooting Lithuanian on her way to the Bay. Plus, why a popular lake is making boaters wait at least a month before getting in the water this spring.
With the 5th pick in the 2025 WNBA draft, the Golden State Valkyries select Juste Jochite from Lithuania.
And there, you just heard it. Juste Jochite is the first draft pick for the Bay Area's first WNBA team. The 19-year-old guard from Lithuania is regarded as one of the top international prospects in the draft. She started playing professionally when she was only 14 years old. So San Francisco's Thrive City is teeming with excitement. Even if most fans may not be familiar with the Valkyries' newest star, crowds have certainly gathered there for a watch party. Our Kelsey Thord is live with reaction from all of the fans on the team's first pick, and I know you are loving this assignment, Kelsey.
I am. I wore my Valkyrie, lavender, so I'm ready to go, Juliette. But we actually just got the second pick for the Valkyrie just a few minutes ago. They picked Cheyenne Sellers of Maryland, so that is the second pick for the Valkyries. But you see, there are all of these fans here at Drive City. They've been out here since earlier this afternoon. This kicked off at 4 in the afternoon, but you talked about it. The big talk is that first pick for the Valkyries. Here's some reaction of the fans here.
The Golden State Valkyries select Juste Jochite from Lithuania.
Let's go! So you might have seen there that it was a bit of a mixed reaction. You know, I think a lot of people here didn't exactly know who Juste Jochite is. She, of course, is an international player from Lithuania. But once people kind of got to know who she is, I think a lot of fans here were excited to hear about that player coming to the Valkyrie. Of course, as I said, we also just heard of the second player picked here, Cheyenne Sellers of Maryland, and we're still waiting on a third pick. But, you know, we talked to a lot of fans out here about how the Valkyrie are picking during this first WNBA draft. Here's what one family told us.
Super fan, #1 fan, supporting ladies sports, especially the WNBA. Happy the franchise is here and happy to be a part of it.
And as I said, we're still waiting for that final Valkyries pick. That should come up here in just a little bit. I think we're right at the 18th or 19th pick, and they're in the 20s. So, you know, these fans are excited. So many of the people here, Juliette, are already season ticket holders. They're one of those 10,000 people that pre-purchased those season tickets. So whoever the Valkyrie pick here today, these fans are excited. They are planning to show up. And, you know, we at KPIX are excited as well, and that's why I wore my purple.
Heck yes, I know. There are going to be some Bay Area household names very soon. All right, Kelsey, thanks so much. Great job. Okay, and don't forget, CBS News Bay Area is the home of the Valkyries. More than 30 games will air on KPIX and PIX Plus. We'll also bring you a weekly show with behind-the-scenes access to the team's inaugural season.
A little cool out there for Kelsey because temperatures in the city only reached up into the low 60s, while farther inland it was a mix of upper 70s and low to mid 80s, 10 to 15 degrees above average. It's not going to last. Big cool down in store for those inland communities. Details coming up in the First Alert forecast.
A 5.2 magnitude earthquake rocked parts of eastern San Diego County. So this is a video of a mom jumping into action when she felt it inside her home in Ramona. She says as soon as she heard cracking from her rooftop, she grabbed her baby and ran out of the home to safety. Look at that. The epicenter was just northeast of the home, not far from the small town of Julian. Maternal instincts also kicked into the San Diego Zoo's safari park. You can see the herd of African elephants, that is, they scrambled during the earthquake, and then they create what was called an alert circle. So the adult elephants surrounded the two youngsters, Zuli and Micaiah. The herd was in that circle for about 4 minutes. You'll see them kind of making that, protecting the little ones. They stayed close after going back to normal. Look at that. That was just their natural instinct, protect the little ones.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, smart.
Yeah, you do that with the babies and the little ones, the babies and the baby elephants.
Yeah, and your pets, too.
And the puppies.
Yeah, drag them under the table.
And your wife.
Happens. I mean, she's going to be the one grabbing the dogs. Yeah, she dives underneath the table. Yeah. Let's take a look at what's happening weather-wise. We're going to be in for some changes here as we head through most of this week. Big picture perspective shows plenty of gray showing up along the west coast as we take a quick look at about the next 36 hours or so. That cloud cover associated with a storm system that doesn't have a lot of moisture to work with, but it's going to do its best to maybe squeeze out a couple of hit or miss showers on us as we head through the next couple of days. But they are going to be much more miss than hit. Looking outside right now, what we're seeing is the fog as we look towards downtown Oakland. There's the fog in the background. Temperature downtown in San Francisco is only 56 degrees, and it's only 59 right now across the bay in Oakland. Only 60 in Santa Rosa. Some of that cooler air making its way northward through the North Bay, and temperatures elsewhere upper 60s in San Jose and low to mid 70s still in Livermore and in Concord. record. We had 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and not 90s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s for high temperatures across the Bay Area earlier today. The fog is going to spread out. Here's a look at Futurecast on a more local level, and you can see that gray making its way across the bay and into the inland valleys as we head through the rest of this evening and into tonight. Fog could slow down by a few minutes on the way out the door tomorrow morning once you're on the road, so allow a couple of extra minutes just to be on the safe side. And it's not just going to be cloud cover at ground level. Also, those clouds farther up in the atmosphere doing their best to squeeze out a couple of showers. This version of Futurecast tries to bring in a couple of splash and dash showers tomorrow morning. It's possible, and I think these are going to be very few and far between. And some of the forecast models are hinting at similar activity again on Wednesday, with even a hint of a chance of a thunderstorm popping up. Best chance that's going to be in the Central Valley into the Sierra, but we'll keep an eye on the radar just in case some of those showers do actually manage to get going and pay us a visit. Temperatures tonight, with the cloud cover building in, only dropping to a mix of 40s and 50s. We'll actually be a couple degrees above average for morning lows. We're just not going to build on these temperatures very much at all as we head through the day, because we're going to have the gray skies overhead for at least the first few hours inland. And even as we break into more of a mix of clouds and sunshine later in the day, temperatures are only going to warm up to basically what's normal for this time of year. Maybe a degree or two above average in San Jose, but otherwise we're talking upper 60s and low 70s east of the Oakland Hills. Around the bay, temperatures in the 60s, near the coast, only in the upper 50s. And for the North Bay, because the fog is going to be a little bit more stubborn in the North Bay valleys, you're only going to warm up into the mid-60s by tomorrow afternoon. Dog walking weather for tomorrow is brought to you by Veda, who is basking in a sunbeam that will be in short supply over the next few days in San Francisco. Plenty of gray overhead, which is what we expect in the middle of April. High temperatures in San Francisco, again, just struggling up into the low 60s. Which is within a degree or two of what's normal for this time of year. Let's take a look at the 7-day forecast, and we'll start at the coast, where temperatures are going to stay pretty consistent over the course of the next 7 days. Even once we break through to a little more sunshine heading into Easter weekend, temperatures are basically going to be hovering near 60 degrees on a day-by-day basis. Temperatures around the bay, a little more variation. Once we do see more sunshine breaking through, temperatures should warm back up into the upper 60s to around 70 degrees. Easter weekend overall is looking very nice, and if you want to experience some Easter weekend warmth, you have to go a little farther inland, where temperatures will go from the mid to upper 60s tomorrow through Thursday to the middle portion of the 70s into early next week.
Easter is fun, especially when it's nice and sunny.
For Easter egg hunts and all that kind of stuff.
Very good. Okay, Paul, thank you. All right, when we come back, how a popular Northern California lake is cracking down on boaters to protect against a highly invasive species of mussel. Plus, the CBS Evening News takes a look at a different sea creature.
This is Gulf Coast shrimp, and those who harvested it are very happy about tariffs. I'm Janet Shamlin in Bayou Factory, Alabama. That's next on the CBS Evening News.
If you were planning on taking a boat up to Folsom Lake for a day on the water, you'll have to wait at least a month. Starting today, all trailered or motorized vessels are banned at Folsom Lake until they quarantine for 30 days after passing an inspection. It is all part of the region-wide efforts to prevent the spread of golden mussels. So you may remember last week we told you about those highly invasive mussels. They can clog pipes and cause serious damage to water infrastructure. Boaters headed to the lake to get inspections today, but state park officials redirected some to other locations once they reached capacity.
It's kind of a bummer. We just bought our annual pass last month, and here we're not even going to be able to use it for 30 days.
The ban also applies for Lake Clementine in Placer County. It does not impact canoes, kayaks, and other non-motorized boats. Just last week, we reported on East Bay mud closing Pardee and Comanche reservoirs to boats, also to prevent the spread of golden mussels. For more on our coverage, visit our website at cbsnews.com. Thanks for watching us. The CBS Evening News with Maurice Dubois and John Dickerson is next on KPIX. We have local news on our streaming service, CBS News Bay Area. Back right here in 30 minutes with more local news just for you at 7 o'clock. We'll see you then.